wear 18 hours in a dress of an iconic Disney princess, I deserve to be paid for every hour that it is streamed online.
Rachel Zegler just found out about Disney's second reboot of Snow White, and she's in the most intense rage ever. After all the drama, backlash, and a $115 million box office flop, you'd think Disney would tread lightly. But nope, they lit the fuse, and Rachel has never been one to stay quiet. From subtle jabs to full-on fury, she's spilling thoughts, throwing shade, and hinting at major behind-the-scenes chaos. And trust me, what she says next might just blow the whole thing wide open. But where did this chaos really begin? Let's rewind to October 2016, when Disney was feeling real ambitious. They announced they were cooking up a live-action version of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, and people thought it was quite the bold choice. Aaron Cressida Wilson got tapped to write the script, and to spice things up, they brought in Benj Pasek and Justin Paul, the duo behind La La Land and The Greatest Showman. So, naturally, expectations were sky high, because what could go wrong with glitter, jazz hands, and forest creatures, right? Now, fast forward to May 2019, when director Mark Webb joined the team. At that point, fans were either hyped or deeply confused. Swinging through New York is one thing, but directing talking animals and a jealous queen is a whole different vibe. But things kept progressing, and for a while, it seemed hopeful. In June 2021, Twitter was doing its thing until suddenly, Disney announced Rachel Zegler as the new Snow White. The powerhouse voice from West Side Story was stepping into the iconic gown. Then things got even juicier in November, when Gal Gadot, Miss Wonder Woman herself, decided to play the evil queen. And let's be honest, who doesn't want to see Gal smirking while plotting mirror-based sabotage in a floor-length cloak? Even she admitted she was excited to go full villain.
You're not playing Snow White. You're playing the iconic evil queen.
And then January 2022 hit us with another surprise character, Jonathan. There was going to be no Prince Charming this time. Instead, we got a Robin Hood-style new guy played by Andrew Burnap. Disney was clearly in the mood to mix it up. However, just when the cast was set and the forest was about to come to life in March 2022, a fire broke out on set. Thankfully, no one was hurt, but the damage forced delays. Filming powered through until July 2022, with sweeping sets, dramatic lighting, and a whole lot of green screen magic. When they finally thought it was time to wrap, though, there was another surprise. Test screenings weren't exactly singing Disney's praises, so the team dove back in for reshoots in June 2024. Now let's talk about some of the controversies. Peter Dinklage chimed in, calling out the Seven Dwarfs concept altogether.
You're progressive in one way, but you're still making that f***ing backward story of seven dwarfs living in a cave. What the f*** are you doing, man?
So Disney hit the brakes and said, okay, fine, they're magical creatures now. And to really shake things up, they added some CGI wizardry. But did that solve the problem? Not really. Some members of the dwarfism community were not pleased, calling it a lost opportunity for actual representation. But the greatest controversies all belong to Rachel Zegler. When Disney dropped the news that Rachel Zegler was stepping into the role of Snow White, the takes started flying almost immediately. On one side, people were cheering for some long overdue diversity. But on the other side, well, let's just say the crowd who preferred the traditional Snow White had their doubts. Suddenly, Snow White was trending for all the wrong reasons. Critics complained about Disney rewriting history, even though we're talking about a story with talking woodland animals and a girl who befriends 7 random guys in the forest. But Rachel didn't back down. Instead, she doubled down on the importance of representation, pointed out how beloved Snow White is in Spanish-speaking cultures, and said she was excited to give the character a new spin. And whether you were clapping or cringing, everyone was paying attention. But if you thought the casting drama was the peak, buckle up, we're just getting started. In a 2022 interview, Rachel called the original Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs extremely dated, and you could practically hear the collective gasp from Disney traditionalists around the globe. But she didn't stop there. She also said the prince in the film was, quote, weird, and made it clear that her rendition of Snow White wasn't sitting around waiting for some random guy to show up and fix her life.
I just mean that it's no longer 1937, and we absolutely wrote a Snow White that is
not going to be saved by the prince.
She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be.
Some fans love this take, calling it refreshing, modern, and totally overdue, but others were deeply offended. Then things got political. In August 2024, the teaser trailer had just dropped, and everyone was either crying over the CGI deer or side-eyeing the dwarf's absence when Rachel posted on social media. Her post ended with 2 words: words, "Free Palestine," and just like that, the comments exploded. Because while Rachel was voicing support for Palestinian causes, her co-star Gal Gadot was publicly pro-Israel. And if you're wondering what happened next, well, it was chaos. Boycotts were threatened, comment sections went full Hunger Games, and fans started dissecting every promo photo for signs of side-eye. Then it got worse. Someone dug up Rachel's old tweets, the kind that roasted former President Donald Trump and threw major shade at his supporters. Just like that, a whole new storm kicked off. People were reposting, reacting, canceling, and defending, and it was all very exhausting. By November 2024, Rachel had to issue an apology.
And I can only hope that despite my flaws, and despite my cracks and my breaks, and there are many of them, that at every premiere and everything I do, people will wait in line to see.
She said she never meant to hurt anyone and just wanted peace. But by then, the damage was done, and the vibes on set were completely off. Word on the street was that Rachel and Gal didn't exactly see eye to eye. While Rachel was vocalizing her support for Palestine, here's where Gal stood.
Standing in front of you today, saying simply that my name is Gal and I'm Jewish. And we have had enough of Jew hatred.
But their rift wasn't just because of politics. Reporters whispered about on-set tension, and some even claimed Disney had to provide extra security for Gal after threats started rolling in. The kicker was that the studio scheduled separate press appearances for the actresses, like not even a single stage laugh on a shared couch. And in Hollywood, that's basically code for them definitely not being friends. So now, picture Disney's marketing team, frantically emailing, panic editing trailers, and hiring a full-blown social media babysitter to monitor Rachel's accounts like a hawk. The promotional rollout was more awkward than anything ever seen before. Joint appearances were rare, interviews were cautious, and the red carpet energy was tense. March 21st, 2025. That's when Snow White officially hit theaters across the United States and Canada. And, well, the numbers were not cute. Opening weekend brought in about $42.2 million domestically, which was already a little shy of the projected $45 to $55 million. And it didn't get any sweeter overseas either. International markets coughed up around $45.1 million, bringing the grand global opening to about $87.3 million. Now let's put that into perspective. This movie had a production budget somewhere between $240 and $270 million, not even counting the marketing avalanche Disney threw at it. And as of early April, the movie had scraped together $71.4 million in the US and $75.8 million worldwide. That's a total global gross of $147.2 million. Math is math, and that means Disney was staring at a financial loss of around $115 million. So what went wrong? Well, Rachel Zegler stepped up post-release like a seasoned pro. When critics weren't exactly appreciating her, Rachel stood by her word, saying she was proud of how the film reimagined the story.
It's very validating. A lot of hard work has gone into this film, but so much love, truly, speaking for myself and also for the filmmakers behind it.
"We set out to bring a fresh perspective," she said. And sure, she acknowledged not everyone was feeling it, but she held firm that the film had heart, which is admirable, really. But depending on who you ask, Snow White didn't just get a glow-up. She got a whole personality transplant. And what about Gal Gadot? She kept it classy. Gal said filmmaking is a team effort and poured out the classic, "we all put our hearts into it" line. But let's be honest, when you go through all that crown-wearing and apple poisoning and then the movie tanks, it stings. What about the reviews, though? On Rotten Tomatoes, the film landed at a lukewarm 42% based on 215 reviews, and the average score was a very average 5.2 out of 10. The critics' consensus basically said that Zegler's great, but the movie's unsure what it wants to be. Which is fair, because when you're watching a fairy tale and can't tell if it's a musical, a feminist manifesto, or a CGI fever dream, you know something's off. Metacritic wasn't any nicer. The film scored a straight-up 50 out of 100, which means it was a mixed bag, and audiences weren't exactly throwing confetti either. CinemaScore gave it a B+, which isn't bad, but it's also not the kind of glowing reception Disney was banking on. People loved Rachel's performance, but the writing, visuals, and changes to the original story were not very appreciated. A lot of fans walked out wondering why Snow White was suddenly leading a revolution instead of just singing to birds. And then came the ripple effect. You know things are bad when your flop starts dragging down your future movies, because here's what happened next. Disney quietly hit the brakes on the planned live-action Tangled remake, the one that had director Michael Gracie ready, and writer Jennifer Caton Robinson, already brainstorming Rapunzel's next big number, is now on hold indefinitely. Apparently, after watching Snow White nosedive, Disney got nervous. Suddenly, it wasn't just about one underperforming movie, it was about the whole future of their live-action universe. The studio decided to wait and see how Lilo and Stitch and Moana do before moving forward. But how far along are these remakes planned? The remake of Lilo and Stitch is a certified pressure cooker. Directed by Dean Fleischer Camp, the same guy who brought us Marcel the Shell with Shoes On, this new take on the 2002 animated classic is serving up heart, alien messiness, and probably enough ohana to make even your most emotionally distant cousin cry. The movie hits theaters on May 23, 2025, and Disney is really hoping it doesn't go the way Snow White did. First, let's talk about the cast. Newcomer Maya Kealoha is stepping into Lilo's flip-flops, and people are already obsessed.
Congratulations, you're going to be on Lilo and Stitch. How did you feel when you first found out?
I was speechless. I was very excited too. I was a mix of that. Speechless, excited.
She's got the look, the vibe, and hopefully the chaos energy needed to keep Stitch from turning Earth into his personal playground. Sydney Agudong is playing Nani, and Kaipo Dudoy is David, the sweet surfer boy who's been trying to flirt with Nani since the Bush administration. But the real showstopper is that Chris Sanders is back voicing Stitch. No one else could grumble, scream, and purr quite like him. So thank the stars they didn't mess that part up. The rest of the ensemble is giving serious range. Zach Galifianakis as Jumba, Billy Magnuson as the extremely confused Agent Pleakley, and Courtney B. Vance as Cobra Bubbles, the government guy you're weirdly into but don't know why. Oh, and did we mention this was all shot in Hawaii? Yeah, Disney flew out the whole crew to keep the island vibes authentic, but Mother Nature and real-life crises had other plans. Filming faced delays thanks to COVID-19 and industry strikes, but somehow they pulled it off and wrapped things up in March 2024. But while Lilo and Stitch is surfing toward release, another wave is building, and this one's got Moana written all over it. Live-action Moana is officially on the calendar. Announced in April 2023, this oceanic epic is scheduled to premiere on July 10, 2026, with Thomas Kail directing. So you already know it's going to be stylish, emotionally charged, and filled with dramatic pauses. Catherine Lagaaya, a fresh face with Samoan heritage, is playing Moana, and fans are thrilled. The casting choice has been praised for staying culturally authentic, and honestly, the trailer could just be her walking across the sand in slow motion and people would still be crying. But the real tidal wave, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, is back as Maui. Because let's face it, no one else can command that kind of charm and sing about coconuts without making it weird.
Song, I thought, oh, this song could be pretty cool. This is like an anthemic, inspiring, motivating. Like, come on, can I get a cheat? Like, you can do it. Let's go. Let's do this.
Also joining the cast is John Tui as Chief Tui, Frankie Adams as Sina, and Rena Owen as Grandma Tala, the ghost grandma we all secretly wish we had. Filming kicked off in August 2024 in Hawaii and Atlanta, because what's more Polynesian than Atlanta, right? And don't worry, Disney's making sure the culture is treated with respect. Traditional music and dance are being incorporated, and Lin-Manuel Miranda is back to work his musical genius on the score.
When you were waddling yay high in the sky, when the nights got cold.
Now, unlike Snow White, live-action Moana isn't just about making everything look more expensive. It's set to dig deeper into themes of identity, environmental protection, and self-discovery. And with that lineup and Lin back on board, expectations are stacked high. But the question remains, can it live up to the magic of the original, or will it drift into the nice effort, but why? Category. That's what Disney's waiting to find out.